Hi, I'm Kat from Drayer Ink, and today I'm going to try and explain how I do data merges. So what we're going to do is we're going to use my spreadsheet template, and I'm going to take you on a little tour of that and show you how to populate it with values. And then we're going to take that spreadsheet and we're going to download it, and then we'll import it into Affinity Publisher once we've made a template, and I'll show you how we connect the template to the spreadsheet through the data merge. What's cool about a data merge is it allows you to do a bulk import of values, so every row will create a card. That means that you don't have to do this over and over and over manually, and whenever you're actually iterating, you just update what you need to update, run the whole thing through, and you're done. I'll show you how that works now. So, first things first, let's go to Affinity Publisher. We're going to create a preset today for the Game Crafter, and I'm going to use 825 by 1125 plus, and then I rename that TGC so that I know that it's using the Game Crafter specifically. And then this is a poker card. So here we have the card. This is the area that we can work in to make a card. Now what we want to know first of all is which areas we can actually work in. So what I tend to do is I just place the image, which I grab from TGC templates, which I have already saved. Poker deck, chuck that in, and I'm going to center that. There we go, done. Okay, so to make sure this doesn't get in the way, I'm just going to lock it. I also don't need the master, so I tend to just delete that because it's an extra layer I don't need. So here, the only layer we have at the moment is poker deck. Right. Now, we have 5 symbols that we want to get on here. We have a background and we have 2 headings. So we'll sit this quietly here in the background to make sure. So this is where it will cut, this red line, and this is the safety line, this blue line. So we want to make sure everything that we do is inside those spaces. So let's start at the top. So this text box here, I'm just going to make it that size. That's going to be my heading. To label it that way. The second text box that I'm putting underneath, doesn't really matter how I do it to start with. I'm going to label it subheading. And the reason for labeling all of these layers, even if it seems a bit silly now, is that it actually makes your life a whole lot easier later when you've got lots and lots and lots of layers. Now, let's have a look at what we've got here. So we've got one layer that's the text at the top. Let's go center on page, apply. Then we've got this other one that's just a completely different size. So what we can do is grab that wee dot there and see how that green line appeared? So that's just aligned us there. And now we grab this wee dot here and align it there. Now if this isn't working for you, just make sure that you've actually got the frame text tool selected up there. I am going to align them to each other, and then I'm going to make this smaller. Inside there, I'm going to think about which font I might like to use, so let's just grab that one. Oh, it's probably going to be a bit big actually. Let's be boring and use Arial Rounded, and then for the bottom we'll just use plain old Arial. And our Arial rounded, we'll leave it 12, and our subtitle, to make sure that it's smaller, we'll go with 10. Cool, you can't see anything right now, but I can just type in test heading. There we go, and test subheading. Right, so test heading, it's not doing what I want it to do right now, so I'm going to center it, and I'm going to center it here as well. And that will make sure that it's aligned within that section. I'm going to do the same here, center, center. Now I can actually select both and do this at once, but it's more helpful to show you twice. Okay, now what I've got here is I have got this text box, which is probably going to be too big for the headings that we put in. So we're just going to make it a bit smaller because we don't want to waste our card space. Now here we could just stretch it up and move it up, or we can go up here to the move tool, grab it, move it, and see that green line that just appeared there? That tells me where the middle is, so I can just use that as well as the lines there at the sides to make sure that we're all completely aligned. Okay, so let's save this. Data merge example. I already made one of these before, but the video didn't record, so data merge example it is. Right. The next step is that we want to make little picture frames for the pictures that we're importing. So we know what we're doing with the text. Now we want the pictures. So the first picture that we're going to put in here is the one that goes at the very back. So I am just going to click and drag, and that's around about the right size. We know how big this file is. We know how big the image is. So it's 825 by 1125. And if you have a look down here, that's not what it is. So 825. 1125, there we go, and let's just make sure now that it's nicely centered. Okay, now let's send that to the back. So that's what these do, move to back, move back one, move forward one, move to front. So to be absolutely sure, chuck it all the way at the back, and I am going to label it background. Okay, let's pop some symbols on here. I actually prefer to have this at the top, so there now. Right, symbols. So I think they should be round. I quite like them round. And I think, yeah, somewhere around that size. So look, let's say that they're 150 around. And we're probably going to chuck 4 of them in here. Oh yeah, let's align them there with the side of the heading. So Control J will give me another one. And I know I want 4 across here, so I'm going to take this one here, I'm going to move it across, and see if I can trigger that little green line so that it'll align. Come on, friend. Can I get you to? No, you can't see that one? There we go, now it knows. Right, so it's aligned with that one and that one. Now I could spend ages trying to get these to line up correctly, or I can just select them like this, then I can go Layer, Alignment, Space horizontally. Boom. Now for my sanity, I'm going to group them, and I am going to call them symbols. There we go. Now let's remember that we've got a special symbol as well, so the special symbol, we'll chuck it up here. It doesn't matter how we put it on, because we can fix that down the bottom. And let's put it, do we want it very center? Yeah, so you see I've got both lines there coming up for me, very center. There we go. So that's going to be my special symbol, and I'm going to label it accordingly. Special symbol. Can't type though, but we'll get there. All right, so now we have this all lined up and ready to roll. The next bit is going to be how we connect that to the spreadsheet. Alrighty, so here we are in the spreadsheet. Now this is a spreadsheet template that I've already created. The main thing that it does is it grabs the information that I want, adds a suffix onto it, tells the system what combination I want of each of these here, and then it does a delightful little calculation for me here. So concatenate means join everything together. A2 and B2 are the cells here, A2, B2. So it's just grabbing that information straight from there, and then it's adding all of this extra information in the middle, and then it's grabbing C2. So all of that information that was in the middle there is basically going to become the file name that it grabs. So in this case, what it actually does is it goes and it gets the heading of each of these columns, and it's going to chuck that in here. So the total file name will be this plus whatever's in there, if there's anything in there, plus this, plus this. And no, I didn't create this all by myself. I did need help because it's quite a complicated calculation. What it's doing is it's doing an array formula, and it's going if error, which is basically if not, if this isn't the case, then do the thing, otherwise carry on. And I think if I'm explaining this wrong, I'm sorry, person who taught me. Anyway, so it looks in these columns, so index D1 to AB1. So that's wrong, we want to change that, we want to make that AC1. There we go. Small, so that means the first. If D2, so the values in D2 to AC2 are X, then take the column name of D2 to AC2, -3, don't know why it does that. I think it's because it goes to the very front, goes to the start here, and then it needs to be -3 so that it knows it starts from here. It's odd because I've already told it that there, but that's what it needs. Else gap. So otherwise, don't do that. Do nothing. Just leave a space. See, there's a space between the two quotation marks? Right. And again, else gap, and then at the end, add the C2 value there. So what will happen in these, now let me just update that. So I go across here. See, I'm dragging that across, oh, but not across everything, please, just to there. And then I grab it and drag down. Right, and that has now populated with the new information. I am going to call it background illustration. Now, with this background, the easiest thing to do is to go so that's concatenate, and then I know that it's always going to be in column A, so I put the $sign in front first of all, and then I know that it is in row 2 because we're in row 2, and then I go and then my file name is background, so I just put background, and then I go and I know that it's always going to be column C. So again, I put the $sign C, and I know that it's in row 2. So by rights, what I should now see is the file location, and then background as the file name, and then the suffix should be .png. Well, look at that. That worked. Now, I could copy pasta this all the way down, changing it from A2 to A3 for each row, but we don't have to do that, so we can just grab that little square there, pull it down, boom, it knows, it did it. And if we have a look, C5, and we are in row 5, so it did it for us. Thank you, magic machine thing, that's very helpful. Right, so what we're going to do now is download it. And the important thing here is to download as CSV. that is comma separated values. Now I'm just going to go and grab that from my downloads and put it into the folder that I want to use. There we go. So I need to feed that information into Affinity Publisher. Right, so let's do that. Okay, so now we're going to import that spreadsheet. So we go Document, Data Merge Manager, go and fetch it. Here it is. We popped it into that folder there, so we'll grab it. And we want to preview with record. Now that's important because otherwise we won't actually see the results of what we've done. So we don't hit generate right now, and close. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how you find this. So you go View, Studio, where's it gone? Fields, right, and mine's already selected as you can see. So I have chosen to put it over here, but you can actually put this where you want. You can grab this, you can just have it floating, or you can pop it over here. I like it up here, so that's where it is. There. Now what this is showing me is the contents of my data merge spreadsheet. So when I open it up like this, I can see that that matches. So I can have a look over at the spreadsheet and see these same values. Icon folder, icon folder, image file prefix, image file prefix, etc. So these values here are what get passed through to Affinity in the file. As I work my way down, I find the ones that we actually want to use. So here we've got the symbols, we have an illustration, we have a heading, a subheading, and we have a background illustration. We're not actually going to use that illustration, so I'm not terribly fussed that it's actually coming from the wrong location. Okay, so let's go. So we grab the text here, make sure you select the whole text, and then we will scroll down to heading here, click on, oops. Okay, so that's a really useful error. What's happened there is we've actually grabbed the content from this section here, and what we're wanting to actually do is not that. So we'll just delete that, and we will come over here and grab heading. There we go, we've got what we want. Again, select all of the text, grab subheading, and then now we want to put our pictures in here, so let's make sure we're on the move tool arrow. Select this here and grab special symbol. There it is, it's populated. Now if we come into these, you'll need to click twice so that it goes from here to here. Then grab symbol space 1, symbol space 2, symbol space 3, symbol space 4. Now in this particular example, they're all the same symbol. So if I wanted to check that it wasn't just the same thing over and over, Document, Data Merge Manager, and let's look at a different record. And as soon as we do that, we can see that they're all changing. So we know that we're doing it right. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to do is that background picture. So select background, scroll down over here to background illustration. Notice that it jumps when you click it. Go to the actual location that you want, double click that, and there you go. Now obviously this is a horrible card design right now. This isn't for real, this is just an example. But as you can see, the text is all inside, the images are all inside, and as you want, your background has gone all the way past so that if there's any drift, which means that when it's printed, the printing doesn't align perfectly with the way that you had planned it, and so when it's cut, it cuts in slightly different places from where you thought. You're still going to have image, but you're not going to lose important information. And so that's your basic card setup. And as usual, we're going to go save. Right, so now that we've finished laying out our card and we've got an indication of how we want it to look, it's not perfect, but this is the first test, we're not going to fuss. The first thing I recommend that you do is come over here and turn off this overlay so that you can't see it, because while it's useful for planning, it's not the prettiest for printing, and you don't want to generate, 18, 20, 200 cards with that and have to go through and turn it off in each one. So we'll turn it off before we do it. Now we go Document, Data Merge Manager, and this is when we hit Generate. So what Generate is going to do is it's going to pull through every row in the spreadsheet that we imported and create a separate card in this case, or file, for it. And what it does is it does those as separate pages within a new file. You can then export them separately, you can edit them first, or you can export them in series. So let's see what it does when we go Generate. Okay, so we'll close that. Now, even though it's not super apparent this second, we're actually in the new file. So that's the one up here with Untitled. So the first step is Save As. So I'm going to call it Exports, and again, I'm saving over the top of the one that I did in a previous example. So yes, and it will prevent me from doing that, or at least it pops up and warns me. Okay, so now, if we want to see all of the others, pages, okay, and at the moment it has done it as facing pages, which I dislike. So Document, no it isn't, it's in Spread Setup, I think. No it isn't, it's never the one that I go to, it is in Document Setup, facing pages. So we switch off facing pages, okay, boom, that's much nicer, and let's just save. Okay, so let's have a quick look through. Yes, we can see that that has exported with different values. Doesn't look like any of the text is overflowing, but what will happen when we go to export it is if there are any problems, it will, like overflowing text, it'll actually pop up and tell us. So, because we are officially destining this to be uploaded on the Game Crafter, we want to make sure that it's still matching Game Crafter requirements, 825 by 1125, which it is. It is a PNG. We're not going to play with anything. We're going to go all pages and we're going to go export. Now, as you can see, I've got my original ones here. And these are all going to get overwritten when I do this export. So if you don't want them overwritten, make sure that you go to a different folder or that you use a different name. Okay, so save. And that's going to write over the top of those. Now, when I go to export it, it's going to number them all. So let's go have a look at it doing that. Yay, there they all are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So they've all come out really nicely. Good news, good times. No need to save it again. It knows that we've done that and we can close this. And this one here will want saving again. Save. And we can close that too. We have generated our cards. And that is how to do a basic, very basic data merge. Anyway, so thanks for watching. Bloop. Hopefully that was medium clear. I haven't done one of these before. I kept getting lost and clicking the wrong windows, so hopefully it's followable. If it isn't, I'm sorry. Let me know.